The Moscow murder suspect, 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger, is on his way to Idaho.
This morning, jail administrators in Pennsylvania say he was moved from the Monroe County Correctional Facility and transferred to Pennsylvania State Police custody.
Our Morgan Romero and Alexandra Duggan are live at the Idaho County Courthouse, where the jail is also. So what can you tell us now?
Doug and Shira, similar update to the last half hour. We are still waiting for the Moscow murder suspect, Bryan Kohberger, to arrive here in Moscow from Pennsylvania. The Idaho County Sheriff did say earlier that he will be housed here at the Idaho County Jail, which, as you mentioned, is the same building as the courthouse. We expect him to arrive at the Moscow Pullman Airport sometime later this evening. We are tracking that currently. We know he will be served with an arrest warrant once he gets to the state of Idaho. And Alex and I have been diving into this. Under Idaho criminal rules, he has to have an initial appearance in front of a magistrate judge in this judicial district no more than 24 hours once he lands in the state of Idaho.
Morgan, we expect his first hearing to be tomorrow. Now, we'll likely learn a little bit more because the probable cause affidavit will likely be unsealed. That will happen at the same time as the initial court appearance. The reason that they will unseal it is because they have to have that warrant, the arrest warrant, back in the court's possession. And now the judge can also choose to completely seal that PCA if they would like, just for integrity of the case.
Yeah, judges have full discretion over what happens in their courtroom, over any documents, over what media they allow to be in the courtroom. And for background, Bryan Kohberger is accused of stabbing to death 4 University of Idaho students on a house just off campus on November 13th. Authorities here say Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, and Kaylee Gonsalves were all likely asleep at the time of the attack. When they went to arrest Kohberger at his family home in Pennsylvania early in the morning on December 30th last week, law enforcement broke several windows and doors to do so. This was part of their tactical plan. Police say the FBI tracked Kohberger for several days from Washington to Pennsylvania leading up to his arrest. They say he and his dad drove 2,500 miles from Pullman to Pennsylvania in a white Hyundai Elantra in mid-December. They didn't give a specific date, but we do know he was pulled over multiple times in the state of Indiana as he was on his way there. He was a graduate student at Washington State University studying criminology. Alex, we've also learned that about his background.
Yeah, Morgan, we also know that he was transferred from Monroe County custody to Pennsylvania State Police custody today, early this morning. And the police can't provide any more info on where he's going and what plane he's on, but we have been following a plane registered to Pennsylvania State Police. We don't know if Bryan Kohberger is actually on that plane, but the last we heard, it was in South Dakota.
Yeah, and again, we don't definitively know if he's on that, but we are tracking that, and we will continue to be on top of that as we learn more through that site. Interestingly, a district attorney in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, said yesterday in a press conference that I know you were monitoring, Alex, that he believes that Kohberger waived his extradition to the state of Idaho because he wanted to hurry back here and see what was in that probable cause affidavit that you were talking about, see what police had about him, and see what any other court records show. They also said that it's abnormal that Idaho doesn't unseal a PCA until the defendant is back in the state where he's facing those charges. So it's sort of a quirk that Idaho has. Meantime, Kohberger's extradition attorney in Pennsylvania did say his client believes he will be exonerated in this case. Idaho County Sheriff, as I mentioned, he came out with a statement earlier. They say that they are going to process Kohberger here at the courthouse, the jail, when he arrives, just as they do with every other inmate that comes into this facility. And then based on that process and that evaluation that they run, they will then determine his housing classification in this jail.
Right, and we still don't know how Kohberger could be connected to these victims, but we are hoping with the release of that affidavit, we will learn more. Back to you.
Morgan and Alex live for us in Moscow. We'll see you coming up today on the 208 and the news at 6 as well.